Hello, cats and kittens. Orewa Jose, Yoroshko. I'm back in the crisis corner, just giving my impressions on the cancellation of the Acolyte. Uh, I can't remember if I did a review. I thought I had done a review on the first three episodes of the Acolyte, and I thought I posted it, but I'm not sure if I did or didn't. I can't remember. But I didn't do any reviews after episode 3 and just continue to watch the series to completion because I just wanted to let the whole thing run through and maybe see if it worked at the end. But as we know now, it's been canceled. My reaction to the cancellation is relief. And I'll say why. First of all, the positives. I think about the Acolyte. I think dude that played the stranger, Manny Jacinto, or what I think that's his name, and the cat that plays Saul, Lee Jong Jae, I think it is. I think they did good work. Another positive, I think, this is kind of going outside of the lines, but going into the series, I was told that it was inspired by Akira Kurosawa's work, Rashomon. I finally got to see Rashomon because I was curious. I'd heard about it, but I'd never actually seen it. So, in going through the series, I said, well, let me go and watch Rashomon. I watched Rashomon, and that was an exceptional piece of work. I could see maybe what they were going for, unreliable narrative, multiple points of view type situation. I think it's safe to say they fell short, but I got to see Rashomon and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I absolutely recommend Rashomon for viewing. Please check it out. Okay, so there's that. That's about it. Everything outside of that, I take issue with. First thing, subjectively, I would say subjectively, it's not my type of work. Moral relativity, deconstruction, that's not really my thing. I understand that Leslie Headland was going for a perspective from the view of the Sith, of the bad guys, and that's not a bad idea. I think it was just executed badly. But I'm not one within the context of Star Wars. That's not really a story I want to hear, and that's subjectively. That's just me. I like what Lucas did with the prequels, which was basically showing the fall of a hero, his descent into becoming a villain. Then you have the OG series, which is his Anakin's son rising to become a hero and redeeming his father. I don't know what they were doing with this. I really don't understand how I'm supposed to take this story. If you're saying the rise of a person, Headland described it as being a positive corruption arc. That makes no sense to me. That's like doublethink. I don't get that. There's no corruption is a pejorative term. There's no upside to corruption. But if you're just saying this is how someone became corrupted, that's a tragedy. But this isn't really framed as a tragedy. So am I to believe that OSHA falling to the dark side is a positive outcome? Is that the desired result? Or if you're just saying that's what happened, I got you. If you're just, laying out what happened, but you kind of get the impression that through the narrative that this was a good thing, or this was, I don't know. I'm not really sure how to take that. And from the first in the first part, OSHA, as opposed to say Luke, I don't think she was ever portrayed as being good in the first place. She was OSHA. OSHA was she had no agency. So she kind of wanders through the whole thing and eventually becomes corrupted, I guess. So there's nothing really dynamic about that. She wanders through the story and becomes corrupted. So she was on no side of the issue and then fell into corruption. That's weird. And the whole May thing, I don't know what to tell you. Uh, okay, so there is the issue of the Jedi. Now, in order to see things from the Sith perspective, naturally the Jedi would be technically the villains of this story. The problem is the Jedi did nothing wrong for the most part until you get to Vanestra, the Green Lady. She covers up the truth of the killings, and this is a murder investigation, a procedural murder investigation. And another issue I take with this is the procedure is just non-existent through the entire piece. You can't. The Jedi are framed as being like police, and in the middle of an investigation, but they follow none of the precepts of an investigation. Witnesses are not, you know, alibis are never checked, corroborated, nothing. They just go around doing stuff. Okay, so that's weird. Um, but yeah, the Jedi are supposed to be the bad guys of this story, but they didn't do anything wrong. Uh, the that fire, the fire that burned down the Mountain fortress was set by May. Confirmed. May's mother was killed by Saul, yes, but after making a provocative turn into a smoke demon, and Saul didn't strike her until he saw May, who he thought was Osha, I believe, dissolving also into a smoke demon. So really, he thought that their mother was trying to kill May slash Osha, so he took action in her defense. Mind you, May didn't even know what was going on. Um, so what did he do wrong? So the only thing the Jedi are portrayed as being maybe stupid, but not evil, which means that there's no real justification for the Sith trying to kill them. For revenge for what? May was there. She saw what happened. She's blaming the Jedi for, okay, she's saying that if the Jedi had never come into their fortress in the first place, then none of that would have happened. Okay, yeah, oh, but it's established that for whatever reason within the law that the Jedi have the right to police Force users. Apparently, they have that right. Okay, that's taken into account that one of the four, I think 4 or 5 Jedi involved in the initial incident felt that what they had done was so egregious that he took his own life. I see no evidence of why that person would have had to take that action. None. So that makes no sense. Saul consented to his own demise at the end based on his guilt over what happened in the incident. Again, I see no reason for that to happen. Okay, so that blows away half of the premise of the movie. The flashbacks basically corroborate that May was at fault. She tried to kill her sister and set a fire that set the Stone Mountain to blaze. Okay, so that's that. That's if I could go on and on about the nonsense of this piece, but I will say this first. Subjectively, it's not my type of story. Objectively, poor craftsmanship. Poor craftsmanship is badly made. Taste is subjective. Craftsmanship is not. Either you know how to tell a story or you don't. Whoever made this does not know how to tell a story. The the dialogue was trash, which led to trash acting performances. Now, is Amanda Stensberg, is she a bad actress? I haven't. This is the first thing I've ever seen her in, and she was given such trash dialogue. Maybe that led to the performance. Um, like I say, man that played Saul tried. He put in good work. Man that played the stranger, Manny Jacinto, he did okay. Man, he did all right. But I have never seen so much wooden dialogue in my life. People were just saying stuff to say it, and they were saying it in such a halting manner. They just reading these lines as if they were doing bad impersonations of Vulcans. You know what I mean? It was just Jedi can have personalities. It's not against the law. You know, Anakin, Obi-Wan, May Mace kind of uh, Qui-Gon, yes, Luke. These people can have. They don't all have to speak in a monotone in these halting phrases. You know, and then there were people like Yord and Jackie. I mean, they were just there. They were red shirts. It's a coin a Star Trek phrase. So their deaths meant nothing because they were never built up to be anything. They tried to make the relationship between Osha and Yord of some consequence, but after he was killed, she didn't seem to care that much. Same with Jackie. She found herself stranded on an island planet with the stranger, and then just goes around with him after he had murdered her friends, I guess, like they didn't exist in the first place. He didn't weep two tears for any of those guys. Okay, that's nonsense. I mean, I could go down the line. May's relationship with the stranger is weird in that she's going on a killing spree of people who she believes were responsible for her mother's death. Okay, fine. Um, but she's doing this at the behest of her master, who is secretly the stranger, but everybody knew it was him from the get go. Everybody except for her. Okay, so why does she need him? He's tasking her to kill these Jedi Masters without a weapon, which is a suicide mission, But she wanted to do that anyway. So what does she need him for? If she gets it done, at the end of that, what is it? She gets to train with him to do what? I don't know. To be an apprentice, and then after that, what? Because it seems to me that if she gets her revenge on these people who were responsible for her mother's death, her her mission's complete. You know, she can go on about her business. She doesn't have any really real reason. She doesn't seem like she's in it to obtain power. Matter of fact, he tells her that if she doesn't do these things, he's gonna kill her. Okay, so is it self-preservation that she's doing this for? The motivations of these people are nonsensical, and that's not disputable. May's motivations change from episode to episode. Same with Osha. Um, Osha actually doesn't have any real motivation at all until She's got no agency. She's led around through the whole show by circumstance and other people's, dictates. So I don't know where her motivations are at all. Uh, that's weird. Uh, the stranger wants an acolyte, but it seems like where they were going with it, that he is a subordinate to Plagueis. And if we're going by the rule of two, is he trying to get out from under Plagueis and start his own deal or what? The whole thing makes no sense. The the dialogue is bad. The the action's overrated. There's some decent bits in there, but to be honest with you, the storytelling behind the action is lacking. Just because you got a lot of people doing things and swinging lightsabers around doesn't mean you're actually telling a good story with the fight. Check out WWE. You can get high flyers and uh, great athletes going about doing nice little moves and stuff like that, but that's not the story. The story is everything that builds up to that fight. That's what makes the fight interesting. The battle in the woods, they went to kill Wookiee and all of that nonsense where they're fighting in the woods. There's some good stuff in there, but it doesn't hold up under scrutiny in terms of how you feel about the fight. I mean, look at Luke Vader in Empire. Not the most difficult choreography in the entirety of the Star Wars saga, but it was important. It had weight. None of these fights had weight. They just stuffed. It was choreography, and some of it, the May Osha fight was bad. Uh, it was, yeah, in my opinion, it was bad. Um, but and then the editing, the pacing, episodes just ended for no reason. Start back up, you know. If it's it was weird, man. It was just weird. So my thing is this: I'm relieved that this did not get a second season because if you Disney has the habit of just greenlighting and sustaining shows because they've been made, regardless of the quality of the work. And if you continue doing that as a paying customer for Disney Plus, I'm going to be upset. As a creator, a person who creates media, who creates art, the a second season of The Acolyte, the first season, to be honest with you, is offensive in the respect that if I did this, if I created something of similar quality and craftsmanship of this, I get ripped to shreds. And to be honest with you, I've had my work critiqued and not favorably so. And that's just what it is. When you put work out there and it gets critiqued, if it gets ripped, that's just what it is. What did I do? I didn't write a diss track. I didn't write a manifesto saying how they rag my stuff because I'm black or whatever. I read it. I read the critique, cried my 2 tears, called on evil on the reviewer, read the review again, took the constructive criticism and went back to work and tried to get better. That's it. That's what you do. You try to improve. You try to get better. I didn't see any hint of effort in a lot of what was done in the Acolyte. Simple, stupid mistakes were made over and over again within the making of this work, this show. And if that got rewarded, then it would just embolden people to do the same thing over again. And then you just get a glut of stuff, content, undercooked, half thought content which is ultimately bad. So someone standing up and saying, no, you can't, this, you shall not pass, will at least encourage them to go back to the drawing board, see what they did wrong, and try again. We live in an age of participation trophies and pats on the back and smiles and giggles. But when you get down to it, you know, dollars speak. And the Acolyte didn't get a second season because nobody wanted to see it. If the show was good, people would have watched it. You could say review bombing all you want. You could say people being bigoted or whatever, or man babies, or however you want to put that. Um, but in the end, good work usually gets rewarded, you know, and or good work. I believe it got a second season. It should. If it didn't, it's much to be lamented. I'm just saying that the Acolyte was poorly crafted, having nothing to do with you know, social justice or any type of culture wars or any of that. Put all of that aside. Craftsmanship, objective craftsmanship, it was bad. So I'm just relieved that now they would probably think twice before letting something like this come to birth. And if you want to tell another Sif story, that's fine. I might not check it out or not. Maybe I would. I don't know. But at least do a good job. At least try to do a good job. This stuff was lazy, and just the little mole beaver fella. Two things: the beaver fella and the fella that offed himself. I keep calling him Tom and Baratheon, whatever. That those two is just proof of lazy, nonsensical storytelling. Just check out the little beaver. Check him a mole, a beaver, or whatever, badger, whatever he is. His actions through the story are incredible. And I don't mean that in a good way. He does things that just are baffling, not to be believed. Okay. And my man, Tom and whatever his name is, he wanted to go home. His whole thing is he wanted to go home. And that drove him to, well, I don't even know how you explain him. And he wound up taking poison because he felt he did something wrong. He got the whammy put on him by the Night Sister wannabe Night Sisters, and he was a mess. His motivations were ridiculous. Now, and one thing that I will say, I did say there were two good things. I got to see Rashomon and the acting of Jacinto and my man that plays Saul. One other thing, episode 3, the Ascension ceremony. Oh, quite possibly the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. I laughed so hard it cleansed my soul. It revived my spirit. It was the funniest thing I had seen. Tears were coming out of my eyes. And that's not what they were going for, but I'm just telling you. Thank you for that. I will thank you to Acolyte. Because I needed that. It raised my spirits. It like I said, cleansed my soul. I laughed so hard. My goodness. So those were the only good things about the Acolyte. Everything else was substandard to just straight up bad. I'm happy, or at least I'm relieved that it's not getting a second season. And I will say this: people losing their jobs or losing a project is never a good thing because those are people's jobs. That's their work. That's their art. That's how they feed their families, and those are their careers. So that's not cool. But if they'd have done a better job of presenting a good product, those people would still be working on that product, and all would be right for the world. So the writers' room failed the Acolyte. Whoever was doing quality control on this series failed, and failed everybody, including the people that's paying to watch this stuff. So I blame the writers, the showrunners, producers, all of that. The actors, they're just victims of circumstance. But there's a trash series, and it's gone, and it's for the best. Let this at least embolden them or inspire them to do better on the next project. Think it over, do your quality control and put out something better. So the Acolyte's gone. It's all for the best. And I hope they do. I don't mess with the High Republic area anymore. Move on to something else. Give the people what they want, or at least try harder. That's all I'm saying. So that's all I have on the Acolyte, man. Good riddance. Like I say, sorry for the actors that don't have work behind this, but money talks, and this stuff gotta walk. So that's all from the Crisis Corner. If you enjoyed the Acolyte, hey, more power to you. I feel bad for you. Not actually, I don't, but I feel your pain. No, I don't. Anyway, this is what's done is done. So until next time, that's all from the Crisis Corner. Stay loose.